Dear respected Thầy, dear beloved Sangha, this morning we will share about our practice on the Four Noble Truths. And I thought of, when we talk about the Four Noble Truths, immediately we think of the Buddha because it's the first Dhamma talk the Buddha gave, and the last one. And I also think of Thầy because his whole life, what he has been doing is to show us the way to end suffering. Or we can say the way to build peace and happiness. I have written down the Four Noble Truths on the board. And I thought, while writing on the board, I thought, if I write only one truth and then talk about one by one. And then I said to myself, no, I need to write all four. I need to write everything because they inter-are, and it would be too difficult for me to talk about one truth, like the first one, suffering, without talking about the others. The Buddha said that I teach about suffering and the way to end suffering. Two things together. And they are together, we cannot separate them. Somebody asked, the question like, the Buddha already taught that life is suffering, and why Thầy always teaches about living happily in the present moment. But the Buddha always taught two things together, suffering and the way to end suffering. I don't think that the Buddha, compassionate as he is, he only talks about suffering. I'm sure that the Buddha didn't want to make us depressed. The Buddha didn't want us to be pessimistic. When there's suffering, there's always a way, a path to end suffering, or to lead, we can say, a path leading to happiness. But in our daily life, in our family or among our friends, from time to time we see somebody or some people who suffer, but they don't see that they suffer. And they don't want to get out of their suffering. It is like someone who is angry, and we say, "Oh, you are angry." No, I'm not angry. I'm not. You are. I'm not angry. And the same thing. Thank you, Shweta. The same thing. Someone suffers, and he or she denies, "No, I don't suffer. I'm okay." But when we suffer and we deny, we don't see that we are suffering, and then there's no way for us to get out of our suffering. So, in the Four Noble Truths, there must be awareness. Suffering is awareness of suffering. If we want the way out, we need to be aware of our suffering. Without the awareness, it's impossible to get out of suffering. And awareness is right mindfulness. It's already in the Noble Eightfold Path. It's already in the the way to end suffering. So in the suffering, we already see the way to end suffering. Without the awareness, that suffering is not the noble truth yet. It's not the first noble truth that the Buddha talked about. So if we deny our suffering, we are not aware of our suffering. It's like someone who is sick and who thinks that I'm okay. I don't need to see the doctor. I don't need to take medicine. I don't need to do anything because I'm okay. So suffering here, as a noble truth, means awareness of suffering. So there's already the path to end suffering. I imagine there's a path, a beautiful path. But there's no suffering. Is it possible? I remember when I was a teen, the first time I came to Plum Village, it was in 1985, the year when Brother Jangji received the lamp. I was a teen. My parents brought me to Plum Village, and I often heard they talk about Thay's books, Thay's Dharma talks, Plum Village, and when Thay went to Paris, when we had the practice center Fleur de Cactus in Noisy-le-Grand, near Paris. When Thay went there and gave Dhamma talk, my parents also went and brought me with them. So I often heard about Thay's teachings, about Thay's books. I see how my parents admired Thay. And every time, I noticed that every time when they came back from a Dhamma talk, they were much happier. They were much more in harmony. They stopped quarreling for a while, for a certain time. So I knew that there's a great teacher, there's a beautiful path, but I felt that it was not for me. So I went to Plum Village to have fun, to play, to run around with the other kids, but I didn't practice at all. Until the day when my father suddenly passed away. And it was the first time in my life I experienced deep grief and deep suffering. And I remember at that moment, right away, I thought of Thay. Because I remember he taught, when you look at your hand, you see your father's hand. You see your father in your hand. So I did as I remembered, but still I suffered. And I wrote Thay a letter. I did like you said, but I still suffered. And then with my family, I came back to Plum Village. And that time I started to practice. And the more I practice, the more I appreciate the practice. And for me, suffering is really precious. It's really a noble truth. Without the suffering, I could never make good use of the noble path. I only use it when I need. And what makes I need is my suffering. Before I heard about Thay's teachings, but it was just ideas. This noble path was only ideas, concept. It was not really a noble path until I practice, until I really want to get out of my suffering, and I practice. That's why I could not write down just suffering, number one, suffering, and then talk about suffering. No, I have to write down everything because they are together, they mingle, they inter-are. We cannot separate them. So there's no noble path separate without suffering. There's no path leading to happiness without suffering. For me, my own experience, if I don't need it, I don't, until I suffer and then I feel the need and then I find that path. It becomes a path for me. Maybe the path is for other people, but it's not for me until I really experience the pain, the suffering, and then I really feel the need. But when I look around in my family, I also see people who suffer a lot. But who cannot make good use of a path, the way out of suffering. Even though we show them there's a path, they cannot make good use, they cannot get profit from it. And why? Because this person is totally desperate. When the suffering is so deep and overwhelming, we lose all our energy. We don't have energy. We can fall into depression, and we don't believe in anything else. We lose faith, we lose trust, and we don't believe in the fact that there's an end of suffering. I was very lucky because I received many beautiful seeds, and I saw people, I saw models in my life. I saw people how they live their daily life, how they help other people suffer less, how they help people generate happiness and joy, how they can make people happy, how they can make people stop crying. Because I see it, I experience, because I see it, I know that it's true. It's something real, it's true. So I have trust, I have faith. And when I suffer, I know that there's a way out. And there are many people in the world who need to see people, who need to see environments like I did in the past, to have faith, to trust. And yesterday, the first day when we gathered together and when I came in this hall, I was so touched. I was so moved because I see that we are at the continuation of Thay. Thay has spent his whole life building something, even though there are many people who don't know Plum Village, who don't come here, who are not here yet. But just the fact that we maintain such an environment, we maintain this place, we maintain the practice, I'm sure that in the future there will be people who suffer deeply, they have a place to go, to return. They have something to grasp, not to get drowned in suffering. Just the fact that you come here, I don't talk about your practice, you just come here and you are participating in Thay's work. You are continuing Thay's work, Thay's life, Thay's teachings, Thay's practice. There are people who suffer, who know the path, who have listened to Dharma talks, who know about the Eightfold Path. But when they suffer so much, they don't have enough energy to practice. And they need friends, they need a Sangha who can help them. It's very easy for us to just to flow with our habits. It's much more difficult to do something different from our habits. Thay often talk about habit energies. When we do something or when we think a certain way, in our brain, the neurons fire together and wire together, and they make neural pathways. And the more we repeat, these neural pathways become deep and clear and deep, and that's why it's so easy to follow these patterns. But when we practice, we have to, sometimes we do something very different from our habit. We have to create new neural pathways. And that's why it's more difficult. And we need friends, we need Sangha, we need the energy of the Sangha to have more energy, to have more strength to do it. In our daily life, some sufferings we think that they are unnecessary because they are just misunderstandings. Because we just need to go and check with that person or communicate with that person, and then we can solve the problem right away. And if we don't communicate, if we are not open enough to check, to talk, to clear that misunderstanding, and then our friends say that, why you let unnecessary suffering invade you like that? It's unnecessary. It's so easy to transform those wrong perceptions. And then there are other suffering. When we see other people suffer, we understand, because yes, of course, when they lose their parents or their beloved ones, they suffer, yes. It's normal, and we have lots of sympathy. We share the suffering. They have the right to suffer. It's one of the deepest suffering when we lose someone we love. And we have the feeling that some suffering we can control. Other sufferings we cannot. They are out of our hands. If somebody passes away, it's out of our control. But still the Buddha shows us the way to end that suffering. It's the right view. Because we are so used to a certain way of thinking. We think of birth and death, so we suffer. But when we have right view, there's no birth, no death. It's just a current, a continuation of all phenomena. After my father passed away, 1 year later I became a nun. A few months later, I came back to Plum Village and learned to practice. And then month after month, I asked the question, the practice is wonderful. Why don't I devote my whole life in it? Because I'm the second youngest member in my family, and I knew that I thought that I could see my older brothers, my older sisters, my mom, they will pass away. I will be the second last one who bear all this grief, these losses. Too much for me, just one person. And I thought that I couldn't survive. And now I have to go through 6 more times. Too much. And then, okay, I know that on this path, I will how to handle. And then a year and a half ago, Thầy tested me. Thầy tested me. When Thầy was in the coma, in his bed, and the neurologist said, he has a few more days. And Thầy really tested me, how I face. I didn't face my father's death. It was afterwards. After his death, I practiced to overcome the grief. And then a year and a half ago, Thầy wanted to see me how I face death. And one more time, I saw how the practice saved me, and with the right view. At that time, when my father passed away, I looked at my hand. I thought, as Thầy taught, but I didn't really see my father's hand. I couldn't really see my father in this hand, and I still suffered. There were still ideas, and I had to practice day after day, months after months, year after years, in order to really to experience, to feel it. Ideas didn't help me. And a year and a half ago, when I heard that neurologist say it, and what really helped me was the right view, I thought, okay, I'm Thay's continuation. And right away, I didn't fall into sadness and depression like the time when my father passed away. But when I remember that I'm Thay's continuation, I was full of energy. I saw that there's so many things I need to do for Thay, to realize Thay's aspiration, Thay's dream. And I see, okay, the rest of my life, I have so many things to do. And I was full of energy. And the sadness transformed right away into energy, strong energy, action. I have the Sangha. I have Plum Village, the Sangha of Plum Village, and the Fourfold Sangha everywhere in the world. And together, hands in hands, we still have many things to do. We are Thay's continuation. And I was so grateful for the teachings, for Thay's teachings, the Buddha teachings, handed down to us after so many centuries. And we are so fortunate today. We have all these tools to help us get out of our suffering. We as humans, we have the capacity to bear suffering. Sometimes suffering becomes a routine and we are able to bear it. And then it becomes something normal. And we feel that we don't need to get out of it. We don't need to go on the path to get out of it. And the same thing with happiness. We get used to happiness. After we learned something, we learned a path, it's so wonderful, and I could solve some problems in my daily life, and I'm so happy. But after a while, I get used to that happiness, and then I go back to my habits. I'm not happy anymore. Or I don't appreciate anymore what I have. And slowly I lose my happiness. Like when I became a nun, the first few years I was so happy because I was bathed in the beautiful teachings, in the beautiful practice. And then after a few years, this environment became a routine, became something normal to me. And then, but fortunately, Thầy kept reminding us to cultivate our beginner's mind and not to get used to our happiness, not to get used to our comfort, spiritual comfort, for example. And we need to look back at our own suffering to remember. that in the past, there were moments when we suffered so much because of this, because of that, to remember that today we are in a different situation. We don't suffer anymore. And when we remember it, we can wake up and appreciate what we have and appreciate our situation now. Otherwise, we can get used to our own happiness and lose it. And it's the same thing with suffering. When we get used to suffering, we see that it's normal. We continue to make ourselves suffer. We continue to make the others suffer, and then we don't feel the need to get out of it. Until one day, somebody yelled at us, "Stop making me suffer, please!" And then we wake up. Oh, really? I didn't know that I make people suffer. So we need the Sangha, we need friends. We need spiritual friends. When we look deeply into our suffering, to see the cause of it. What is the cause of my suffering? Is it I suffer because I don't know how to appreciate what I have. I don't know how to really live fully what is happening in the here and the now? Is it because I always run towards the future, looking for some happiness? When we stop and we look deeply at our ill-being, we have right mindfulness, we have right concentration, and we are already on the path to end suffering.